I'm Dr. Meena Bose. I'm the Executive Dean for Public Policy and Public Service Programs and the Director of the Peter S. Kalikow Center for the Study of the American Presidency in Hofstra's Peter S. Kalikow School of Government, Public Policy, and International Affairs. And we are so delighted to have all of you here today as we open the Hofstra's 13th Presidential Conference, the Barack Obama Presidency, Hope, and Change. It is my great pleasure to introduce Hofstra President Dr. Susan Poser to make welcoming remarks.
Well, good morning. As you heard, I'm Susan Poser. I'm the president of Hofstra University. I've been here less than 2 years, so this is my first presidential conference at Hofstra, and I know that for many of you, it's your second, third, fourth, and so on. But it is my pleasure to welcome you here and welcome you to our 13th presidential conference focused on the presidency of Barack Obama. So over the next 3 days, we will hear from scholars and public officials, media experts, and White House and congressional staff about Barack Obama's journey to and service as the 44th President of the United States. This conference, as you just heard, is titled Obama, Hope, and Change, and we will evaluate the extent to which President Obama's legacy can be thus summed up. 41 years ago, Hofstra began this tradition of putting on a conference to examine the U.S. presidency and the role that it plays in global politics. The first conference focused on the presidency of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The university has hosted a conference for every president since FDR, and these conferences grew in size and scope over the years, and in more recent times, the former presidents have sometimes participated in this event, including Presidents Ford, Carter, H.W. Bush, and Clinton. Unfortunately, as hard as we tried, President Obama is not able to be here this week, but he has sent a video message, which we will view shortly. We are very grateful to his office and to the Obama Foundation for working with us in putting together this conference. This conference provides scholarly analyses and key insights into what it takes to become a president, to build and lead a team of policymakers, to work across political lines, and to engage with journalists as they document for history the arc of a presidency. In 2006, Hofstra expanded the breadth of this inquiry with the creation of the Peter S. Kalikow Center for the Study of the American Presidency. And this center is led by Dr. Meena Bose, who you all just met, and most of you know her, who regularly brings distinguished scholars to campus and hosts programs that explore various issues related to the presidency. This conference speaks to our continued commitment to creating dialogue, to explore the past through thoughtful debate, to conduct research, and to open up our campus to scholars and community members from near and far for collaborative learning. Over the next 3 days, we will examine many aspects of President Obama's legacy, including his election campaign as he made history by becoming the first African-American president of the United States. And I'm sure many of you, like me, can remember exactly where you were and what you were doing when that happened, the moment that happened. Policy decisions impacting healthcare, the economy, foreign policy, and education. The role of the media and how they documented this historic journey. And we will also have a panel on the legacy of the extraordinary First Lady, Michelle Obama. You will hear from panelists and speakers who are on the front lines helping to shape the policies and the legacy of President Obama. And we welcome many experts, many of you are here already, who've taken the time to join us this week and share their insights and knowledge with our faculty, students, and community members. I would like to acknowledge that we have with us today, or will have with us very shortly, a former congressman from the state of New York, the Honorable Steve Israel. Is Congressman Israel here? Okay, he'll be here soon. He served in Congress throughout President Obama's tenure, representing New York's 2nd District and then its 3rd District. He grew up on Long Island in Levittown, not too far from where we sit here today at Hofstra. So we will thank him when he arrives for joining us and for participating in this first panel. Organizing a conference of this magnitude requires extensive planning, coordination, and creativity. I extend my gratitude to two people in particular who led the teams that put this conference together. Dr. Meena Bose, the Obama Conference Director, the Executive Dean for Public Policy and Public Service Program, and Professor of Political Science at Hofstra, and Athaline Collins, the Executive Director of the Cultural Center. Meena and Athaline and dozens of staff members have worked for months, ensuring that we have a robust and interesting conference that fully explores the legacy of President Obama and his administration. I want to thank all of you who were involved in this for your work. Some of them, I think, are still out there in the registration room, but let's give them all a round of applause. So once again, I welcome you to Hofstra University and thank you for joining us for these exciting days. And now I will introduce the Provost of Hofstra University, Dr. Charlie Riordan.
Thanks very much, President Poser, Susan. I want to start by thanking Meena and Athaline as well. You know, I've been at Hofstra even less time than President Poser arrived in July, and one of the special things about any institution is the quality and the talents of the people. And so in Meena and Athaline, we're really at the top of the list of excellent colleagues, friends, scholars, and expert organizers, as you'll get to witness and experience over the next 3 days. So Meena and Athaline, thank you both. So as Provost, it's my pleasure to add my welcome to all of us, those who are joining us on campus and on the live stream, for what will be an engaging 3 days worth of learning, dialogue, and reflection on the presidency of Barack Obama. A warm welcome and thank you in particular to all the speakers, panelists, and moderators for giving of their time and of their expertise to shed light on the tenure of the 44th United States President. As President Poser introduced, Hofstra is uniquely positioned to host and lead this conversation. Hofstra scholars participating over the next 3 days hail from the following schools and centers: the Kalikow Center for the Study of the American Presidency, which we've heard about, which sits within the Peter S. Kalikow School of Government, Public Policy, and International Affairs; the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication, the Center for Civic Engagement, the Hofstra Northwell School of Nursing and Physician Assistant Studies, the Frank G. Zarb School of Business, the Maurice A. Dean School of Law, our School of Education, our School of Health Professions and Human Services, the Hofstra College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the Honors College, and the Hofstra Speech and Debate Team. So you can see we're very well organized to touch on many of the topics that the President mentioned and that were seminal in the Obama administration. Hofstra is committed to a diverse and inclusive intellectual community in which we can, and I submit we must, have respectful and engaging dialogue on the most important topics of the day to bring together greater understanding to our world, how we care for it, and how we care for one another. Indeed, creating an environment for robust exchange and the creation of ideas is the essence of university life and provides a reminder of the human experiences that tie us all together. As I'm a chemist by training, I'm also very interested in history and the humanities more broadly as uniquely human endeavors that connect us across generations and across groups and societies within the same generations. With the current advent of generative AI, ChatGPT, and other tools as examples, we're challenged really to think anew about what it means to be human. So as we think about this topic, I'm reminded of the connective thread in American history that ties the decade prior to the Civil War, to the Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s, to the Obama presidency, and even to today. In 1853, in the decade preceding the Civil War, abolitionist minister Theodore Parker said, and I quote, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice. So that's 1853. Many people, I'm sure all of you appreciate the essence of that quote because it was popularized certainly during the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s, in particular after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which did far less to improve the lives of oppressed African Americans than many had hoped. Martin Luther King rallied the country at that time with a very optimistic rallying cry inspired by that Theodore Parker quote, and he famously said, Martin Luther King did, "How long? Not long," meaning must we wait, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that, as many of you know, was also one of President Obama's favorite quotes. He had it embroidered in the rug in the Oval Office, along with several other quotes from presidents in particular. And during the Obama presidency, attention to these words included a renewed discussion of the word bends, how that arc bends towards justice, and whether that is an active verb or a passive verb. And so we know, and certainly Martin Luther King Jr. knew very well, that arc will bend towards justice, but we all have a responsibility to assist and support that bending. So it's an active exercise. So over the next 3 days, I look forward to learning more about the Obama presidency, the people around him, and the country's efforts to actively bend that moral arc, and importantly, what it means for us to bend it today. So now it's my pleasure to introduce a woman you've heard a fair bit about already, Dr. Meena Bose, the director of the Center for the Study of the American Presidency, the Peter S. Kalikow Chair in the Presidential Studies, and the director of the Obama Conference, just to name several of her titles.
Thank you, Provost Riordan and President Poser, Charlie, Susan. Those very kind words. Everyone laughs about the signature on my email because we have long titles at Hofstra. But we are fortunate to have a vibrant program of studying government, politics, and international affairs. I wanted to make just a few brief comments before we turn to the official conference welcome from former President Obama. And I wanted to just begin by thanking all of you for being here. Students, faculty, community, and particularly the American Political Science Association Presidents and Executive Politics Scholars. To see all of you here today after it's really our first big reunion since 2019 because of the pandemic. And to have all of you here, many of you on return trips, is just wonderful. So thank you. There are so many of you, we'll have to take multiple selfies later in the conference. And I also see that Representative Israel has joined us. Thank you so much for being here today. Your timing is perfect. I just wanted to note, in addition to what President Poser and Provost Riordan have said, some of the what's particularly special about this presidential conference. This is the first time, I believe, that we are hosting a conference about a president who has visited Hofstra twice, in 2008 as a candidate for the third presidential debate, that was with Senator John McCain, and in 2012 as an incumbent president for the town hall meeting debate that was with Mitt Romney. And both of those were very exciting opportunities for our entire university community, especially our students. And what's also exciting about this conference is this is one of the first conferences, as we've moved up to the present from the 1980s, as Dr. Poser discussed, where we can bring back alumni who remember seeing Barack Obama on campus as candidate or as president, and were motivated in many cases to enter careers in government, politics, whatever their specific area is, and not even necessarily, not making a party comment here, but were motivated to engage in public life because of the rich experiences that we've had at Hofstra. And that is particularly true with having Barack Obama on campus. It's also significant that the Obama presidency from 2009 to 2017 is one of our first conferences where we can see many of the individuals, public officials, journalists who were engaged in covering or working in the administration. And we see those issues, many of the topics from healthcare to the economy, climate change, foreign policy, the US role in the world, defense spending, very much in the news today and very significant during the two-term Obama presidency. Now, we also see many of former President Obama's officials serving in the current administration. That made it a little bit of a challenge to bring speakers to campus, but that's okay. We were able to we have a wonderful program, as you've seen, if you've picked up your program already. And looking ahead, we'll invite them back for the Biden conference, which Dr. Posner and I were just discussing yesterday. So we're planning ahead. We have so many thank yous that if I went through everything, then we would miss the first plenary, and I don't want to do that. But I do want to just note, in addition to everyone that we've recognized in the conference program, just a few quick notes. First, I'd like to extend our deepest thanks to Peter Kalikow, Hofstra class of 1965, a member of the Board of Trustees, long-standing supporter of presidency studies, American politics. You know that he's founded the Center and the Kalikow School that we've identified here. We have the Gonfalon and the Presidential Studies Center banner. The center was founded in 2006, the Kalikow School in 2015, and we so deeply appreciate Mr. Kalikow's enduring commitment to bridging the study of the presidency and American politics with the practice. And that is really what enables us to host events such as this 3-day conference. So we're sorry he can't join us, but we know he'll be viewing this, and I wanted to recognize him and thank him. I also want to thank our conference committee. I can't name everyone, but we have been working on this conference actually since November 2019. Hofstra has a rule. We host presidential conferences after at least one presidential election has taken place since the president left office. So the earliest, so for George H.W. Bush was 1997, Bill Clinton was 2005, George W. Bush was 2015. We had a little more room there. And Obama was supposed to be 2021. So we actually had a few planning meetings. We had things underway. And of course, then we had to pivot, as everyone did in 2020 with planning. So we were determined to host this conference before the 2024 presidential race begins in earnest. And we do have some announced candidates and some that could announce, I suppose, during the conference this week, but not here, I think. But that would be exciting. But we have been working on this for a long time. And so my deepest thanks to our conference committee colleagues. And I wanted to note in particular, Rosanna Parati, who I know is here, who when I referenced the alumni who were motivated to enter careers in public service from the Obama years and from our presidential debates, Rosanna has organized an amazing panel with 10 alumni that'll be Thursday afternoon. So thank you, Rosanna, for making that all seem easy. We know it wasn't, and we're so grateful. So thank you, Rosanna. I also would like to thank my conference research director, Dr. Paul Fritz, and conference associate director, Dr. Richard Himmelfarb. We have shared so many emails, Zoom calls, text messages. Dr. Fritz's office is next to mine, and I was really worried that he would stop coming into the office because every time he came in before class, I would say, "Do you just have a minute?" So I was very grateful that Dr. Himmelfarb didn't block me on his email. But we've been teaching together this semester on the Obama presidency, so that would have been hard. But I so appreciate your work, your resilience. Thank you for everything that you've done. So thank you. I have just two more, and then we're going to turn to the welcome. Our student guides, You're amazing. Some of you have signed up for multiple sessions. Your dedication to studying the American presidency and supporting Hofstra and everything we do is so richly appreciated. I see some of you in the audience. I'm not going to call on you by name because I won't get everyone, but thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you very much. And I said I wouldn't mention people by name, many people, but I do have to recognize our cultural center. Janine Rinaldi, Amy Trotta, Carol Mallison, and Kathleen Collins are making everything happen. They're out there in the registration area. They never stop smiling. I don't know how they do that, but whatever it is, we have had so many small details. A colleague just said, you know, you don't focus on the planning, you focus on the execution, and that's where we are today. We could not do it without them. And I must echo Dr. Poser's recognition of Kathleen Collins. I think everyone in this room has been connected with her in some way. And when Kathleen sends emails at 10 o'clock at night or calls from the office and texts to make sure it's okay, you know everything is going to be okay. So please join me in just thanking all of them, especially Kathleen. It would not be possible. I'm sure she's out there planning for the next event. So richly appreciated. Now I'm going to turn, and with deepest thanks to our events management team who are behind the booth and all around and have made the sound and the visuals look wonderful. We're so grateful to you, Neil, Lou, and the whole team. Thank you for all that you've done. I want to give them a special thanks because without them, we wouldn't be able to hear each other or see any of this. And with that, I think it is suitable. We're so honored that former President Obama took the time to prepare a special welcome message for the conference. The Obama office has been supportive of this event from the beginning. We really hope the President and or Mrs. Obama would join us. As up until last week, we really thought there might be a possibility. It wasn't. We hope to welcome them back to campus another time. But for now, if we may show the video from President Obama. Please, thank you.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank Hofstra for hosting this conference and to all of you for taking a part in it. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I figure you might be a little more honest if you could talk about me behind my back. In all seriousness, I appreciate the effort you're putting into examining our campaign and our 8 years in the White House. As president, I always tried to learn from my predecessors and the historians who have studied them. And I'm glad you'll get to hear from members of my administration who can shed some light on the decisions we made. I also know you'll be talking about the legacy of our administration, so I figured I'd share a few thoughts before you all get started. In basketball, this is called working the refs. I'll admit that it's hard to have perspective on yourself, especially this close to when you were president. But one of the things I tried to do was to tell a generous, inclusive story about America, where everybody has a seat at the table and where we can all be a part of perfecting this union. I'm also proud that our administration was able to operate at the highest levels of power and still have a moral compass and an ethical code. We made some mistakes, but every day I had the privilege of working with a group of talented, idealistic people trying to change the world. They made me want to be a better president. And finally, even the most successful presidents don't have enough time to get everything done. That's why the single most important thing I can do right now is to grab the next Baracks and Michelles out there and try to make their path just a little bit easier. That's the reason the work we're doing at the Obama Foundation and the work we'll do at the Obama Presidential Center isn't just about telling our story. It's about giving the next generation of leaders the tools and inspiration they need to write their own chapter. If we can do that, it will be a better and more important legacy than anything I got done by myself. I've often talked about how, as president, you're just a relay runner. Your job is to run your leg the best you can and then hand the baton off to someone else. I am incredibly proud of what my administration did, but I also recognize that there's more work to do. I just hope we set a good direction on some important issues and that future presidents will take us even further. Thanks again for everything you're doing, and enjoy the conference.